Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's edition of the program, we'll be giving a recap of the protests conducted by the Nigerian Labour Congress. We also have new stories for you. We will be right back. Though the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC held its planned protest during the week, what was scheduled to be a two-day event could only hold for a day. In Abuja, the president of NLC, Joe Ajero, and other civil society groups led workers to the National Assembly to deliver their demands to the lawmakers.
No worker can live on 30,000 minimum wage. And over 150 million Nigerians are living below poverty line.
Worker can build one room. We are suffering. As a matter of urgency, the federal government should announce immediate measures to stop hunger.
In Lagos, southwest Nigeria, members of NLC took to the streets to protest against the economic hardship in the country at about 8 in the morning of the 27th of February. Amidst tight security and the watchful eyes of men of the State Police Command and Rapid Response Squad, the workers started the walk under the bridge in Ikeja and had a brief stop at Allen Avenue before proceeding to the governor's office in Alausa, Ikeja.
Definitely, the freedom is around the corner. Nigerians today, let us rise and let us tell Mr. President what he's supposed to hear. And what do we need to tell Mr. President? Nigerians are hungry. There is hunger in the land. It is the civic responsibility of government to provide for us. And it is also our human right for them to give us all that we needed.
This protest, holding here, is only symbolic. We must carry this protest to our workplaces, carry this protest to our neighborhood, carry it to our streets, carry it to our schools. We must carry it everywhere because our demands are clear.
In other parts of the country, the story was the same as Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde led the protest in a state.
In Oyo State, we started paying in October, we paid in November, we paid in December, we paid in January, we paid in February. Please, I am begging you, this problem, it will be over.
For the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, led by Festus Osifo, who did not join the strike, they rather used the opportunity to reel out expectations of members from the federal government. These include a call on the federal government to determine the real value of the naira, expedite action on the minimum wage tripartite committee meetings and its recommendations, as well as tax waivers for the manufacturing sector. Others are the clampdown on speculative trading in the foreign exchange market, government at all levels to start promoting made in Nigerian goods, as well as governments to stop following the dictates of the IMF and World Bank. The TUC also wants the federal government to curb crude oil theft and increase investment in oil and gas production, tackle insecurity for farmers to return to the farm, temporary importation of food, as well as commencement of local refining of crude oil at the Port Harcourt refinery.
We were not part of the process ab initio. We were not part of the agreement ab initio. So there is nothing to opt out from at all. Like as I have said repeatedly, that in trade union movement, you have a toolbox. That in that toolbox, you have different tools that you could use in calling government to order. When government carry their $1 billion into a billion naira into the market and chasing rice, the same rice that the middle class is also going to buy, the same rice that those that they did not put within the vulnerable group is also going to buy. the price of rice is bound to increase.
People united
can never be defeated.
After ending the protest, the NLC at a press briefing in Abuja extended the 7-day ultimatum given to the federal government by another 7 days, which expires on the 13th of March. Within the period, organized labor expects that the federal government will implement the October 2023 Memorandum of Understanding and other demands it presented in a letter during the nationwide protest.
The NLC will no longer be comfortable attending meetings at the eve of any action. Never again. Because it's a waste of time, waste of energy, and nothing comes from such meetings. To delay us, demobilize us, to make people have the impression that we went there to discuss other issues.
At an event in Lagos, President Bola Tinubu urged NLC to be patient with its administration. The president stressed that declaring 4 strikes within 9 months of an administration is unacceptable.
The labor union should understand that no matter how much we cling to our freedom and rights, to call 4 strikes within 9 months of an administration is unacceptable. If you want to participate in the electoral process, wait on the 2027. If not, maintain peace. You are not the only voice of Nigerians.
As the president gets set to implement the Oronsaye's report, National Assembly members have called for a comprehensive review before implementation.
NLC, who have said that we will not keep quiet. Today, we are very proud. I will continue to be proud of NLC, that will remain the only common voice that is standing in this country. We suggest a reopening of the land borders to allow food, cement, and other essentials to come in. Emergency measures to ensure food security around the country, including ensure that farmlands are secured so that farmers can return to their land.
Cost of living is nothing to write home about. And we are asking, are we still in the same Nigeria where the House members, they use trillions of naira to renovate their houses, but the poor civil servant, the poor market women are allowed to die in penury?
We have 2 sets of people, those enjoying from our suffering and those who are suffering. People are enjoying from the suffering.
We want a Nigeria where people will breathe, where the common man will have a...
To reaffirm our commitment to supporting any government driving good policies for workers and assure that we will reject further impoverishment on us.
We are waiting for the federal government to implement whatever policy that they think is going to benefit the entire Nigerians. But we are here in Delta State, where we know that things are working, and want to pray and believe that His Excellency will not listen to our plight and cry us to continue to wallow in this abject suffering and poverty.
Now the bag of rice is above 70,000, and the salary wasn't increased, and the palliative that was shared with them, their personal self, and also look at the situation of insecurity.
There is hunger in the land, there is insecurity in the land, and people are not happy. These are the 3 messages, and you can see even from the description of our banner, it's the simple message we are sending.
The politicians are not losing anything. The people that are suffering are the masses that are on the street and the workers that are going to work. We believe the government must call them for roundtable negotiation, through which they will spell out whatever policy they have for the common man in the country.
Who are workers of Nigeria are the ones saying no to the hunger in this country. We are saying no to the policies that are not giving us joy in this country. Every civil servant in this country has over 10 that are dependent on him.
profile interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the Acting General Secretary of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Ismail Bello. He brings us up to speed on the activities of the Nigerian Labour Congress, why the Congress decided to suspend the two-day protest, and why the government needs to act now to ensure that there is no mass strike come March 15th. It's good to have you on the program.
Pleasure to be here as well.
It's been an eventful week for the working force. We understand that the strike and the protest, is supposed to be a two-day protest, but it ended up being a day protest. Can you tell us why Congress cut it short and allowed just a day protest?
Thank you, Sharon. As you know, we are workers and we are Nigerians. And everyone knows the situation in the country in terms of the extreme hardship, the high level of insecurity, the inability of ordinary people, workers, artisans, the large army of our people in the formal sector, how difficult they are finding it to cope with life. As labor, we have two responsibilities. One at the workplace, which we do on a daily basis, engaging employers, fighting for benefits, engaging in social dialogue, engaging in collective bargaining. We do that without any fanfare every day in all sectors of the economy, in maritime, in the energy sector, in textile, in the public service, disciplinary issues, the union is there. We also have a responsibility at the level of the larger society. To be the critical voice for the voiceless, to join with other segments of society, to be able to voice, to express the voice of very ordinary people. And I think that's what you saw during the week. When the NSC, National Executive Council, met and decided on a two-day protest, it was actually a decision that was made in solidarity with the Nigerian people. As somebody who is versatile about what goes on in labor, you know we have an agreement with which, together with the TUC, we had issued a 40-day ultimatum. So that was still running, and we were hoping that we were going to meet with our colleagues to take the next line of action. But in the wisdom of our National Executive Council, they said, no, we can't wait for that decision to be made. Let's move and solidarize with the Nigerian people for 2 days so that we can articulate the broader issues of the economy. We can articulate the broader issues affecting the generality of our people beyond what affects us as workers. Even though some elements of that are already in the ongoing agreement, but there are broader concerns beyond that agreement. There are broader concerns around insecurity. And we believe that, yes, our country is going through hardship, other countries are going through hardship, so every country must respond to its own hardship. But very important is to pay attention to the suffering of ordinary people, which we believe the current government is not doing sufficiently enough. And we also believe that at the level of government, the macroeconomic programs and policies are largely dictated by the IMF and the World Bank, bordering on issues around subsidy, fluctuation of dollars and all of that. And the implication of that for our well-being, for jobs, for employment, in our country. Employers are crying, workers are crying, all segments of society are crying. And as organized labor, other people, because as the lawyers we argue that the freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, the right to protest, they are fundamental. And particularly in a democracy, we believe that we should have that free expression. And that's what we try to do where we came out with that 2 days protest. There were all kinds of pressure for us not to come out. But we know we insisted that if, as organized labor, in conjunction with civil society, we worked on the military to be on the streets, even with the threat of gun and all of that, to ensure that our country return to democratic governance. We think the minimum we can have is to have that opportunity to protest and to be able to ventilate on the critical issues that are affecting us. And we use the opportunity of that protest to articulate some of those and to also formally send a letter to Mr. President around what we think should be done in the immediate to address this suffering. As to the question about why is it one day and not 2 days? I think, as Labour, we meet, we discuss, we review our actions, and we believe that the first day was successful enough in terms of the mobilization and articulation of our grievances and our issues. In Abuja, we are at the National Assembly, where we met with the leadership, and we stated our position and also forwarded the letter to Mr. President. Across the states, our people met with governors and their representative, the representative of state government. So when we had an emergency NEC meeting, after the day to review what has happened across the country, except for Enugu, where the police resisted the protesters, I think virtually all parts of the country, there was peaceful protest, which reaffirmed the position of Labour that workers are not hooligans, and workers are citizens, and we have the right to protest. And all our protests have been peaceful, and we demonstrated that once again. So we took that report, and the decision of NEC was that whatever we are going to do the following day, we can restrict to our immediate environment within our respective offices. We can engage the media further on the specific issues that we have canvassed before government, and we can also, particularly at the state level, use the opportunity to also identify critical issues that are peculiar to the respective states.
I would like to move on to the conversation or the statement that the federal government made recently. The president himself spoke against the incessant protest and call for strike by organized labor. How will organized labor actually react to this development?
Well, I think Mr. President doesn't need to be apprehensive about free expression of protest. I mean, of people through protest is legitimate in a democracy. But as to whether Labour should embrace dialogue, we are for dialogue all the time, even on this protest. The 2 days before the protest, we were engaging government, we were talking. But the benefit of dialogue is that parties must be open to give effect to decisions that are jointly arrived at. And if you take a look at the agreement that we had with government on the 2nd of October 2023, around wage award, around provision of mass transportation, public mass transportation, driven by CNG, around fixing our refineries and all of that. You discover that, yes, contrary to what is in the media from government spokespersons and government representatives about high level of implementation, 80% implementation, the reality does not respond to the figures that have been spread around. The reality is that if not for the constant pressure that we are putting, the 35,000 wage award at the federal level has not been clearly implemented. It's only recently a backlog of about 2 months was settled. And it is not every agency, every department of government that has received this payment. As we speak, the Port Harcourt refinery is yet to come on stream, even though there are understanding that we'll go and see the level of progress and all of that. That's for us as NSC, that's yet to happen. But the truth is that no fuel is coming out of Port Harcourt refinery. As we speak, in Lagos, in Kaduna, in Kano, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, there are no mass transportation system to ease the pain of workers. So those are the issues. And when you engage in dialogue, dialogue is not just does not end with signing of an agreement. A dialogue continues with details of implementation and ensuring that both parties play according to the dictates of that understanding. I think that's one lesson this government needs to take. That the point of implementation is also critical. It's not just talking. Dialogue is not for talking's sake. It's for talking to get a common understanding and to work together to ensure the implementation of that understanding for the benefit of both parties, for the benefit of government and for the benefit of labor and the generality of our people.
As a fallout of the press conference after the protest that took place, recently, the president of NLC insists that there will be no agreement with government few hours to the. Am I correct on that?
Sharon, I think you need to feel our frustration. The frustration of labor when it comes to implementation of agreement, and the frustration of labor when it comes to government antics and intimidation, the frustration of labor when it comes to waiting to the very last minute before we do what we are supposed to do. I think the message the president sent, the signal he's sending is that let's take seriously this process of dialogue and let's take seriously its implementation. Now we've issued a 2 weeks notice, extending the previous 2 weeks notice around implementation of this agreement. 2 weeks is a long time. That's about 3 days ago. Now nothing is happening between now and maybe the next 10 days. And then when it's 2 days to the expiration of that ultimatum, then you see government officials struggling to meet with labor. We think dialogue and conversation should be a continuous process. It should be an open process, should be a mutually respectful process. And I think that's the signal that is sent, that we will not take a situation where government will take every push that we make as insignificant and wait till the very last minute before it responds.
Okay, so what more should government do at this point? Are there demands made by labor that can be actually be met with in the next 2 weeks? Do you think the timeline of the ultimatum is sufficient for government to meet up with its own bargain of the agreement?
That's not for me to say in the media. It's for the parties to get to the table and review things and set clear timelines.
The National New Minimum Wage Committee has been inaugurated. Are there any expectations from NLC towards ensuring that we have a new minimum wage?
Now, people keep asking this question. Given the crisis that has happened to the value of the naira and the basket of goods that our currency can buy, there are all kinds of speculations in the media about what should the minimum wage be. But I think based on previous experiences, a lot would depend on how parties are able to come to the table about data, not just data, about cost of living and all of that. And you know that in determining that, a lot of factors also come to play about the balance between the public service, the private sector, and the small and medium enterprises. Knowing that minimum represents the floor below which no employer should go. Given current reality, we will expect that government and other employers of labor will realize the enormity of the crisis in our hand, and that workers cannot be productive when they cannot feed. Workers cannot be productive when they travel 10 kilometers on foot to get to work because they cannot afford transportation. Workers cannot be productive when they cannot have a decent accommodation. Workers can't be productive in an environment where health and safety is in jeopardy. So bearing that in mind, the minimum wage should be able to at least address the quantum of goods, food items for a family of 6, and you know what that means. I won't put any figure here because at the level of NSA, the leadership is working at the level of the minimum wage negotiation, and those figures will be exchanged, and I'm sure the balance will be strong. But the point to note is that given the current crisis, all parties must realize the need to substantially raise the minimum wage in order to even assist the economy. Because when people have money in their pockets, when workers have money in their pockets, informal workers also have goods and services to render. And that way, the economy is oiled. So it's very important to bear that in mind. The ultimate goal for us as labor will be the drive towards a living wage. And a living wage is that one.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Thanks so much, Sharon. As we say in labor, the struggle continues, and we hope that government will change its modus operandi in terms of its approach to dialogue and bargaining. Thank you.